Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Mental Health Awareness Initiative. And today we have Mr. Jimmy Mody from Mumbai. He's a psychotherapist, coach, and an author, and has been working for more than 2 decades. He has extensively worked in the field of psychotherapy related to issues such as fears, anxiety, depression, etc. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jimmy.
Thank you, Hina.
And could you tell me a little more about yourself and as to which type of cases are you working right now?
Okay. So you've introduced me quite adequately. I am Jimmy Mody. Been working in Mumbai as a psychotherapist for more than 21 years. Uh, my fields of psychotherapy span from psychoanalysis to CBT, clinical hypnotherapy, past life regression therapy, transpersonal regression therapy, and so on. I use a mix of these as I see fit for every patient or client in front of me. The kind of cases that I see now are largely online cases, telephone cases, Zoom cases, or video cases. And because of this, I'm getting uh, people coming to me for consultations from Canada to Calcutta, Singapore, and Mumbai as well.
Okay. And since a year now that we are in pandemic and the cases again have risen within India and globally itself, have you seen a rise in a particular type of issue?
Before I was dealing, before COVID, I was dealing with a wide variety of cases.
Okay.
The changes now that I'm not dealing with such a variety of cases, largely because a lot of cases I cannot deal with online, like uh, cases that require hypnotherapy and stuff like that. I cannot do that online. I don't feel comfortable doing that online. So any case that I can work with using CBT or psychoanalysis or a combination of that, I use that online. A lot of the cases are to do with um, loneliness, depression, and fear and anxiety. A lot of fear and anxiety seems to
Mm.
be raging, as you can see even in the newspapers.
When you see the cases of related in and around fear issue,
Yeah.
right? So is it overlapping phobias or is it a very unique thing that is
Well, I'm not seeing necessarily that many cases regarding phobias, but fear and the fear family, well, phobia is part of the fear family. Anxieties, worries, and all the rest. Yes, there is a lot of that. Uh, I'm on some WhatsApp group chats for COVID, and I can see people getting quite knotted up with trying to get answers when there really are no perfect answers available.
that is really very kind of you to come up with a WhatsApp group. So it's like a support group to people who are undergoing the issue of fear and restlessness.
Yeah, there are two WhatsApp groups where I am a member of it that are dealing with this.
And if
And
anyone wants to join it, how do they approach?
uh, I'm not the administrator, so I don't really know.
Okay. So they
I could
can message you on LinkedIn or anywhere on the social
they
media and
can
inquire.
they can connect with me on WhatsApp itself,
Okay. That
and
will be wonderful.
yeah, I'll try and connect them. But I'm not an expert on the IT field, but I try and connect them.
Sure. I'm sure the listeners right now can have a support group connectivity through you. And moving on forward, what do you have to say are would be a quick remedial part or a supportive part that people can follow at home
The
related to anxiety or fear or any other common issue?
Yeah, about fear, whether you're facing the fears that are prevalent in this pandemic situation or any other fears before that or other that, fear is fear and human being is human being. And we all respond in about the same way. Okay? The thing that we need to pay attention to is that with fear, we are often exaggerating or over evaluating a situation. And the more we over evaluate and exaggerate it, the more fearful we can get, even we might panic. Uh, a useful initial tip for this is to look and ask yourself very, very realistically, is this fear useful or useless? Most fears are useless, and still we get into the grips of them. But there are some fears that are useful, and we need to be attentive to that for our own safety and security. So we cannot say that all fear is bad, fear is necessary. It's part of our nature, it's part of our society, it's part of ourselves. We are built and engineered to go into a fight flight response whenever we experience fear. But fear is always an anticipation of something that may happen. It's very different from pain because it's not pain. Fear is an anticipation of possible future pain. And in that way, it's almost like making that pain, which may or may not happen in the future, making it happen in the present moment. So a lot of fears are quite useless in this way. But with this pandemic, with COVID-19, as I've said in the other COVID groups as well, we need to define for ourselves certain simple actions that will keep us absolutely safe. And once we do that, then we don't need to go into analysis paralysis, which is almost never ending. And someone will say this is good, and someone else will say that is bad. And so we jump from opinion to opinion. And the only way in which we human beings know to actually deal with our fears is to know and accumulate knowledge, more and more knowledge about what is clearly an uncertain and unknowable future.
Okay.
And that knowledge gives us a sense of comfort, of safety. But that doesn't last very long because then we doubt that knowledge. So and so said it to us. What does he know? Mr. B, Dr. B knows more, so let's listen to him. So we listen to Dr. B, and comes along Dr. C, who knows even more according to us. And so we start listening to Dr. C. And so we just jump from opinion to opinion, from person to person, from fact to fact in our
So,
fear.
okay. So when people are like hopscotching from one doctor to another doctor and listening to their opinion, what would you advise them?
My advice is very simple, what I have followed for myself in this pandemic. Okay. I don't know anything about remdesivir and this one and that one. I don't know anything about it, this vaccine or that vaccine. All I know is get myself vaccinated as soon as possible and tested in regular intervals whenever I need to, and maintain social distancing to the extent that I can. But now here comes the catch-22. Most of us don't want to actually follow any social distancing. Even if we know that is right, we don't want to. So what do you see on the streets? Arey jaane do. Who needs a mask? I'm not going to get COVID-19. Bajuwala will get it. I will never get it. So arrogance creeps in. And arrogance is the enemy of knowledge.
Very true.
And with arrogance, we feel we don't need to fear because we are greater than fear, we are better than fear, we are bigger than fear. And as soon as arrogance gets in, we start getting slipshod, social distancing goes out of the window, and a second or a third wave of COVID-19 begins.
Yeah,
Yes,
that we are seeing.
we all want to party, no doubt. But now, come on, yeah. We can use this time for other things also.
And it's like, when you are talking about people not following the simple basic things and taking it in their own stride and risking themselves as well as their loved ones, which is
Yes,
not a right approach. And this should be, taken in very seriously because it is getting affected and there are real death that is happening.
that's true, Hina. But at the same time, many of us will counter that in our minds, if not openly, by saying, how is COVID-19 any different from influenza or SARS or anything else? We didn't have to do all this nonsense for those epidemics. Why do we have to make such a fuss over COVID-19? Someone must be making some profit out of it. Some politics is being played on it. So bullshit. I'm not going to go with this COVID-19 safeguarding thing. I'm. It's all nonsense. That also is a reasoning that takes place.
Okay. So, what would you say to such thought processes?
I would say that uh, to a certain extent, I do credit the media for for over evaluating the whole thing. But at the same time, where there is smoke, there must be fire. And so certain precautions we do need to take. So social distancing is a good practice, and we should certainly follow it within reason, without getting paranoid about it. So we swing from arrogance to paranoia, and from paranoia back to arrogance again. And that's where most of the lives and hospital cases are lost.
And in this last year, have you personally experienced any stressful or challenging situations? And if so, how did you cope?
For me, no, I just maintained social distancing without allowing myself to get paranoid about it. I saw certain things in Bombay that were very heartening, very nice to see. There was no traffic on the roads. That was very nice. The air quality index, what they call the AQI, came down by more than half. People were quiet. It gave me the feeling of an atmosphere where I could certainly sit and meditate and reflect on myself. Yes,
Okay.
at the same time, I did miss seeing people around. And then I would see these people on the terraces of their buildings where they would walk up and down like I would walk on mine to get my daily walking. And we began waving out at each other. So I was able to make friends with people I don't know, never met, and they've become my waving buddies. And that feels good. So, yes, there is a loss of social contact. I did feel it, as I'm sure did most other people. But I got so involved with all these uh, Zoom and uh, online
Interaction. I'm
yeah,
sure
calls that, it became, I just didn't know where the time went.
if I have to, you know, just have a compilation of what you said, it is like, yes, in this pandemic, we should at least try to follow the basics. As you have rightly said, where there is smoke, there is fire. And that is true. And we all should realize you have again given a very good reminder, and as well as sharing that there is something like good fears also, which will safeguard you, and not spiraling towards the fears which will cause you pain, which may not be there in the future. But overthinking and exaggeration may lead you into that situation right now. So
Yeah,
before we wind up,
there are real
sorry,
fears and there are imaginary fears. We should stay away from imaginary fears.
okay. And before we wind up, would you like to share something to the listeners about holding on, that we all are in the same boat? We all are experiencing the same thing.
Yes, we are all in the same boat. We are all experiencing the same thing. And the very fact that we're in the same boat also means that no one is better than the other. No one is bigger than the other. And therefore, we should stay away from the most unfortunate, tragic human problem, which is arrogance. Because here now, arrogance is going to cost us our lives.
That is wonderfully said. And I'm sure the listeners would realize, as you have mentioned, arrogance will cost us our life as well as put others' life also at a risk.
Yes, very much so. And maybe that's why this pandemic is here to teach us certain things which we have refused to learn otherwise.
If you could just say something about that.
Well, arrogance, unfortunately, is is one of the most widely spread human diseases. Look at the politics of this country. Look at the politics of any country. Compare the presidency of Trump versus Biden. Compare the different political parties and their platforms and the stuff they're saying here in India.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, you give someone a little authority and they think that they're God. At least they would like to be God, but they're not. We're all limited. We're all going to be dying just as we're all born. We all have limited knowledge, limited power, limited authority. We don't have the competency to make the kind of judgments that we have been making, especially on other people, other castes, other religions. We don't have that authority because we don't have that intelligence. We don't have that knowledge. And the sooner we learn to become a little humble in accepting these facts, the better off we will be. Yes, it does feel wonderful to be arrogant, to think of yourself as something great, something special. And especially if there are people around you who are willing to feed those feelings in you. Wonderful. It's a wonderful dream of grandiosity, but it's not real. We need to become more and more real in our ways of living in life. We need to do what Sigmund Freud called reality testing.
Um, that's true. And with that reality, and what I remember you had also mentioned when we were having a conversation that let us all collectively try and break the chain, and we all can do something about it in our own best capacity to be safe and be create safety for others also around us.
Absolutely. Yes,
That's wonderful thought, and the listeners will keep that in mind, at least when they are negating the fact that it is okay to go out and maybe slip off the mask part, that even if they are fine, they may put their family members, at a risk part. So what you have said is very true, that we should not be arrogant and be humble in our own perspective and in our own situation.
yes.
So, thanks a lot, Mr. Jimmy, for your precious time and valuable thoughts. This is
Thank
a
you.
good reminder again, because we are seeing the number of cases increasing rapidly. It's not just increasing now, it's
Yeah,
spreading.
that's true.
Thank you, sir. With that, we end the episode. See you tomorrow with another episode, same time, 3 p.m. Take care and be safe. Bye.